In the vast timeless heart of Africa, where the land seems to resound with ancient proverbs and the wind carries a story, there exists a profound truth. Even the wind must circle the earth many times before it finds the flame that does not fear its touch. It is a truth that speaks of resilience, destiny and love so rare, it can withstand any storm. This is a tale from the golden hills of Ndebele, a place where the trees truly danced slowly and the dust spoke in whispers. It is the story of Anaya, a young woman whose spirit burned brightly, unafraid to challenge convention, and Luka, a quiet stranger whose past was shrouded in ash. Their journey reveals how fate can weave threads of ancestry and adversity into a tapestry of enduring love, and how true connection is found not in perfection but in shared scars and unyielding hope. Join us as we uncover the flame that fears no touch, a love story woven by the very hands of destiny. In the golden hills of Ndebele, life was structured by tradition, guided by the rhythms of the seasons and the collective wisdom of the elders. Women were cherished, their roles vital but often defined by grace, modesty, and a quiet deference to men. Yet, into this world of established norms was born Anaya. From a young age, she was different. Her mind was as a vibrant river constantly flowing with thought and insight. She was strong-willed, deeply intelligent, and she possessed an unwavering courage to speak her mind, even when it challenged the comfortable silences of the village. This fierce authenticity made her both admired and, for many, subtly feared. She was too sharp, too quick, too unwilling to bend her spirit to what was expected. By the time Anaya turned 27, an age when most of her age mates had already married, settled, and started families, the whispers in the village began to grow louder. They murmured behind cupped hands, "She is too proud and too bold for any man to handle. In fact, her tongue is too sharp, her mind too restless. No man wants a wife who questions everything." Suitors, drawn by her undeniable grace and intelligence, came and went. They were men of varying status. Some tried to buy her attention with large herds of cattle symbolizing wealth and stability. Others came with honeyed words, praising her beauty, her wit, her skill at weaving. But Anaya saw through their superficial gestures. She recognized the subtle and sometimes overt desire to tame her spirit. She refused all of them politely but firmly. She told her father, a man who loved her deeply but was bound by the traditions of his people, "Father, I will not marry a man who only wants to quiet my voice. My thoughts are as much a part of me as my heartbeat. I cannot dim my flame to fit into a cage." Her father understood her spirit, yet his brow often furrowed with concern for her future, for a woman unmarried was often seen as incomplete in Ndebele. So, the whispers intensified. Some elders, clinging to rigid customs, called her cursed, attributing her unmarried status to some unseen spiritual flaw. They spoke of the wind-swept flame, a beautiful fire that could not find its resting place, but Anaya, though she felt the sting of their words, carried her spirit with quiet dignity. She waited, not for perfection, not for a prince from a distant land, but for peace. For a man who would truly see her, who would celebrate her inner fire, not seek to extinguish it. She waited for a harmony that resonated with her soul, a quiet understanding that didn't demand she diminish herself. She sought a love that would allow her flame to burn ever brighter and not hide it. The seasons turned and the land of Ndebele entered a particularly harsh dry period. The air grew thick with dust, the crops struggled, and the usual vibrant hum of village life became strained. It was during this time of subtle hardship that a stranger arrived in Ndebele. His name was Luka, a quiet farmer from the distant eastern region, a land rumored to have faced its own severe trials. He spoke little, his words were few but carefully chosen. There was a piece of land on the outskirts of the village others deemed infertile. He rented it and began to work on it alone with an unwavering patience that few understood. No one knew his story. He carried no grand tales of lineage, no boasts of past conquests. Yet, there was an undeniable aura about him, a quiet strength that resonated deeply with the earth itself. The land, though parched, seemed to listen to him. He was seen at the market buying humble provisions like yams, his movements economical, his eyes observant. He saw Anaya in the bustling crowd. He didn't speak, he only watched with a strange profound stillness that drew Anaya's attention even amidst the noise. Their eyes met a fleeting spark of mutual curiosity passing between them. One stormy afternoon, as the sky broke open and torrential rain lashed down, turning the paths to thick mud, Luka witnessed something remarkable. While others ran for the shelter of their homes, Anaya was kneeling in the churned mud, her hands expertly guiding some eggs laid by her hen into a basket. She was soaked, oblivious to the thunder and lightning, her face a mask of concentration and compassion, utterly dedicated to the vulnerable new life emerging. It was a moment of raw courageous grace, an unyielding flame amidst the storm. Luka, hidden by the downpour, watched, and in that moment he saw not just her strength but her profound connection to life itself. Later that evening, under the cloak of the night, without a word, Luka left a neatly bundled stack of dry firewood at Anaya's doorstep. No name. No knock. Just a silent offering against the chill of the storm. It happened again the next week, this time, a small pouch containing rare iridescent seeds known only to flourish in the most patient and caring hands. Anaya found them, and for the first time in years, a genuine soft smile, untouched by village whispers, curved her lips. It was a smile born of surprise, appreciation, and a quiet sense of being truly seen. Luka didn't speak of love or offer grand pronouncements. He spoke through actions, through gestures that resonated with Anaya's spirit. When her roof leaked during a sudden downpour, he quietly appeared the next morning and without a word expertly patched it. When her prized water pot shattered, he spent days in his humble hut painstakingly carving her a new one from a rich dark wood, sturdy and beautiful. Their bond grew quietly, like the deepest roots of a baobab tree, unseen, unhurried and unshakable. Anaya found solace in his silent understanding, a comfort that surpassed any flowery words or glittering gifts. He was the quiet wind that circled, observing her flame and not seeking to blow it out. Just as Anaya and Luka's quiet bond deepened, trouble returned to Ndebele in the imposing form of Malik. A former suitor Anaya had once rejected, Malik was from a powerful, influential family renowned for their vast herds and extensive landholdings. His ego, bruised by Anaya's previous refusal, had festered into resentment. This time, he returned not with humble gifts but with an entourage, bringing lavish offerings for Anaya's father, deeds to fertile new land, a magnificent herd of cattle, and a marriage proposal that glittered with undeniable wealth and status. Malik approached Anaya with a condescending smirk. "You are not getting younger, a woman needs security, a strong hand, not vague dreams, Anaya," he said, his voice laced with venom, loud enough for others to hear. He cast a disdainful glance towards Luka, who stood quietly on his humble plot, seemingly oblivious. The village elders, swayed by Malik's influence and the allure of such a powerful alliance for Ndebele, began to pressure Anaya relentlessly. Her own father, torn between his love for his daughter and his duty to the community, began to voice his doubts. "Daughter," he pleaded, "Malik offers much. Perhaps this is the path the ancestors wish for you, to bring prosperity to our people." Anaya felt the crushing weight of their expectations, the silent accusation that her personal choices were holding the village back. But Anaya looked at Luka, the man who asked for nothing but who consistently gave everything through his silent, steadfast actions. The man who truly saw her, without judgment or expectation. With a strength born of her unique spirit, she stood tall and spoke, her voice clear and resonant, silencing the murmurs, "Let me be poor in gold, but rich in peace. For peace in my heart is a treasure no cattle or land can buy." Malik's face contorted with suppressed rage, his eyes burning with fury at this public rejection. Angered, Malik unleashed his final weapon, the insidious power of rumor. He spread venomous whispers throughout the village. "Who is this Luka? Why did he come alone? What secrets does he hide?" He fabricated tales claiming Luka had run from his old village, saying a terrible fire had cursed him, and that misfortune followed him wherever he went. The whispers grew into a chorus of doubt and suspicion. "What do we know about this man?" the villagers murmured. "Why did he arrive unannounced? What burden does he carry?" Luka, the quiet, gentle farmer, was suddenly viewed with suspicion, his solitude twisted into a sign of hidden guilt. The very peace Anaya cherished was now threatened by uncertainty. Anaya, deeply shaken by the injustice, knew she had to face the truth no matter how painful. She approached Luka, her heart heavy but resolute. For the first time, Luka spoke of his past, a story he had carried in silent anguish for years. His voice was low, raw with suppressed pain. "A fire, Anaya," he began, his gaze distant. "A terrible consuming fire destroyed my village long ago. It was unexpected and swift. I tried to save my family, my parents, my younger sister. I failed. I watched, helpless, as their lives, our home, turned to ash. I carry that pain, that guilt, with me every waking moment, a constant ache in my heart." He confessed his deep, unhealed wounds, the lingering shame of survival, the feeling of being cursed by his past. "I came here not to forget," he continued, his voice gaining strength, "for one can never forget such a fire. But I came here to start again, to find a place where hope could still grow even from ashes." Anaya didn't turn away. There was no flinch, no judgment, only profound understanding. Her own experience with village whispers, her defiance of easy definitions allowed her to see past the rumors, straight into his aching heart. She took his hand, her touch gentle but firm. "You are not cursed, Luka," she said, her voice a soothing balm. "You are growing. You have faced a terrible fire, and you survived. You carry the strength of those ashes. And I will grow with you. We will build new beginnings together." In that moment, the bonds forged by shared adversity, by understanding unspoken pain became unbreakable. They married under that lone, ancient baobab tree, whose roots reached deep into the earth, symbolizing enduring strength. There was no grand celebration nor large crowd. Their only guests were the gentle wind carrying their silent vows, the steady flame of a small oil lamp representing their unwavering hope and the profound quiet peace that settled around them. It was a wedding built not on gold or fleeting praise but on truth, resilience and an unwavering belief in a shared future. Anaya had found her peace and Luka has found his haven. Years passed, gentle as the flow of a mountain spring. Luka and Anaya's land, once deemed infertile, became the greenest, most bountiful in the entire region. Their harvests were legendary and their foresight in cultivation was astonishing. During a great famine that struck neighboring villages threatening Ndebele itself, their abundant harvest fed the entire community, proving that true wealth lay not just in gold but in the wisdom of the land and the generosity of the heart. Their quiet, steadfast love had not only brought them peace but had become a source of profound blessing for all. Then one quiet morning, as the dew still clung to the leaves, a small boy approached Luka, holding out a cracked, intricately carved wooden charm. The boy spoke with a soft voice, "My grandmother told me this belongs to you. She said it rose from the river after the great floods and that you would know its meaning." Luka froze. It was the very charm he had buried in the ashes of his childhood village, a sacred heirloom. He thought he had lost it to the consuming fire and the passage of time. His heart hammered in his chest, a piece of his lost past had returned. Anaya, seeing the charm, felt a tremor of recognition. The markings. They were almost identical to an heirloom passed down through generations in her own family, a small worn charm that had belonged to her grandmother's twin brother, a man who had vanished in a distant war, his fate a family mystery. Old village records were painstakingly pulled from dusty chests. The impossible truth was slowly and miraculously uncovered. Luka was the grandson of Anaya's grandmother's lost twin. Their ancestors, unknowingly, had been part of the same lineage, separated by fire and war generations ago. They were not lovers by blood in a conventional sense, but they were inextricably bound by roots, two family trees, separated by tragedy and scattered by fate, now miraculously reunited by love, by shared strength and by an unbreakable spiritual connection that stretched across time and forgotten history. Their journey, once solitary, was now understood as a fated convergence, a cosmic dance. And so, the wisdom of the Ndebele hills rang true, not just in Proverbs, but in life. Some storms come not to destroy, but to return what was once scattered. The fire that had ravaged Luka's village, the war that had separated Anaya's ancestors, had in a strange twist of fate ultimately brought them together, knitting disparate threads into a single unbreakable tapestry. A flame that waits is not weak, it is waiting for the wind that will not blow it out. Anaya's patience, Her refusal to dim her unique flame had led her to Luka, the gentle wind who understood her light. Their love became a beacon, illuminating the truth that true strength lies not in conformity but in authenticity, not in the absence of scars but in the power of survival. Luka and Anaya's story, rooted in ancestry and forged in love, whispered this truth through the golden hills, a timeless melody of two souls destined to meet, two flames finally finding their unyielding embrace.